Hello, welcome to my Solasta Crown of the Master Monk class guide, levels 1 to 12. I'm a host, Methfu. So if this guide managed to help you out even a tiny little bit, please smash that like button. It'll be greatly appreciated. Alright, let's go. So in this guide, we are going to be going over the most optimal way to build a monk at the start of the game. So let's make a new character. Right, okay, so the master race is back once again. The Savannah Elf will be the best race to play as the monk. So the Savannah Elf gets dexterity +2. So your main stat as the monk is dexterity, and then it's wisdom, and then it's constitution. They also get Fey ancestry, saving throw advantage against charm, immunity to magical sleep. So this stops all the kind of mind control crap that normally happens, and also means you're not sleeping on the job once again. Dark vision, see normally in dim light and in natural darkness as if in dim light. So once again, darkness is real terror in this game. If you have nothing to light up the way, you will be taking a dirt nap very, very shortly. Keen senses, proficient with the perception skill. So I consider perception to be one of the best skills to have. So this is actually quite a nice little bonus. Trance, 4 hours of meditation are sufficient to rest. So yeah, also good. Savannah Elf lineage features move 7 movement tiles. So as the monk, you don't really need that many movement tiles, but with this, you're going to be moving around the whole map. You're going to be pretty much teleporting as the monk, because the monk gets, like, you know, so many different bonuses as well to their movement. On top of that, you take feats that increase your movement, so you're literally going to be zipping around. You'll be able to get everywhere. As I said, it's like teleportation with the Savannah Elf. Ability score increase, wisdom +1. So as I said a second ago, wisdom is your secondary stat, dexterity is your first, and constitution is your third. So having high wisdom is always good. Elf weapon training, proficient with longsword, short bow, longbow. So most of the time as a monk, you'll be using unarmed and staves and other monk weapons and things like that. So this doesn't really have that much relevance to yourself. Sylvan adaptability, proficient with survival and athletics. Athletics is great, survival is okay as well. It's just icing on the cake really. Let's go next. Okay, so this is a monk guide. We're going to take the ranger. Just joking, we're going monk. So monk, they get saving throw proficiency, strength, dexterity, simple weapon, short sword. I'm just gonna have a quick look through here actually. Unarmored defense, that one stands out to me. When you're not wearing armor, your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your wisdom modifier. You cannot use a shield to gain this benefit. So in other words, you can't use a shield, you need to be unarmored as well. And this is why your dexterity and your wisdom are your main stats pretty much as a monk. And the constitution is kind of like the third stat, or the third highest stat, should I say, because you need this to get your AC up to kind of a respectable level. Otherwise, your AC will be flagging behind quite a lot and you'll take a lot more damage. Over to martial arts, bonus, unarmed strike. When you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or monk weapon on your turn, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. For example, if you take the attack action and attack with a quarterstaff, you can also make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, assuming you haven't already taken a bonus action this turn. So what this passive means is that you can use a quarterstaff or a stave or however you want to call it, and also have another kind of offhand attack as well with the unarmed strike. So you're literally building up your damage. You're using a two-handed weapon, getting the full damage bonus from that, and also having kind of a dual wield offhand strike as well. Similar to the rogue when they use daggers or, you know, rapiers or something like that, they get the main attack and they also have an offhand attack as well. So it's actually very similar to that. It also just gives you increased damage. So backgrounds, just make sure you have everything covered by your other party members. So depending what party composition you're using will affect which backgrounds you choose. I'll be going with the low life background for this guide, since most of the time the monk will be replacing the rogue or the ranger in your party. So this just makes the most sense to have someone still able to lockpick. Proficient with thieves tools. So this means we can still use our lockpicks, and also means we get a stealth bonus. We also get to use sleight of hand, which only works in Lost Valley DLC, and we got a bit of deception as well for conversation. So it's all very nice things. So over here, this is literally just flavor, however you want your personality to be. If you want to be good on evil, you kind of decide whatever you want. And next. Okay, so over to the ability score screen. So once again, you decide how you want to play. If you want to play standard rate and just kind of slam things in there, you know, just go ahead. You want to re-roll the dice for really strong stats, go ahead once again. You literally decide how you want to play, so however you want to play is literally completely up to you. I normally play with point buy. I find it gives me the most challenge. Okay, so the monk is a very, very stat-hungry class. They want all the stats in the world. They want dexterity, they want wisdom and constitution. So we're going to try and do the best we can with point buy. We're not re-rolling for big stats, so we're literally going to try and make do with what we got. So let's start with strength. So we're going to bring strength up to 10. So the reason we're bringing strength up to 10, because you will notice it in combat if you do not have your strength at 10. If it's at minus, you'll notice a lot. When you try and jump from a gap, you'll fall down, you'll miss out your whole turn. Also, when you try and climb a wall, you have to use all your movement tiles in the world to try and climb that wall and try and get up to a higher vantage point, which will also really suck. Then over to dexterity. We're going to bring this up to 17. It's our main stat. This affects how much we can hit for as an our damage. This affects if we can actually hit stuff and not miss. This affects everything. It affects our AC. It's one of the main stats of the monk, so we need that as high as possible. Then constitution. We're going to bring this up to 14. The reason we bring this up to 14 is so we can actually take a few hits and not die. As a monk, we're going to be predominantly in melee range. So that means we will be taking damage. We'll be taking hits. We're taking everything. Range damage, melee hits. So we need our constitution fairly high. It also helps with our saving throws as well. Intellect is a complete dump stat. We're going to completely ignore that. Then wisdom. We're going to raise this all the way up to 16. So wisdom and dexterity are really, really important for the monk because they affect his AC with his passives later on. So wisdom's very, very important to have that high. Also, it helps out our will saving throws. Charisma, once again, is a complete dump stat. So charisma and intellect are both the dump stats of this build. We need, as I said, we need all the stats. We can't spare any points into those at all, unfortunately. And let's go next. So in the proficiencies tab, we have 2 class skills to choose from. We don't really have many choices here at all. We literally got history, religion, insight, and acrobatics. We'll take acrobatics. It helps a lot during combat. Once again, it stops you from falling over, stops you doing silly stuff. They've got insight, helps out in dialogue. You can see if someone's lying, so if someone's evil, telling the truth. So yeah, it's all kind of nice stuff. There's not really anything else we could have taken there. So we're just going to take what we can get. Let's go next. Okay, so appearance, you kind of decide what you want your character to look like. As I said before, you know, take a couple of hours, just literally just make sure you make it look right. Otherwise you end up re-rolling like I've had to quite a few times where I didn't like the smallest little thing like the eye color, the nose was shaped wrong, something like that. So just make sure you take your time and just make it how you want it to look. Right, so the leveling up process for the monk is actually fairly straightforward. There isn't many variables you can change during the leveling up process, so it's actually quite a simple character to build. So let's go to level 2 and have a look. So with more hit points, we now unlock key points. Starting at the 2nd level, your training allows you to harness the mystic energy of ki. Your access to this energy is represented by a number of key points. Your monk level determines the number of points you have, 2 at level 2, 3 at level 3, etc. So this means that we get to do a lot more things in combat. Starting with patient defense, you can spend 1 key point to take the dodge action as a bonus on your turn. So that means we can do a main attack into a dodge to give all our enemies disadvantaged attacks against us for that round. Then we've got step of the wind. You can spend 1 key point to take the disengage or dash action as a bonus action in your turn, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. So once again, this means we get more options during combat. So we can disengage if we need to get away from someone, we're about to die. We can dash across the battlefield. We don't really need to use the dash so much though, because we are monk and our movement is crazy anyway. The jump is also nice though, to be able to jump bigger distances. That actually will come into play a fair amount during combat. We've got flurry of blows. After the attack action has been used on your turn, you can spend 1 key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. So this is as to our overall kind of damage, our overall DPS. So it means instead of doing, you know, 1 main attack into a bonus attack of unarmed, we can now do 2 unarmed attacks instead. So that means our damage is actually getting a lot bigger. Unarmored movement. Starting at the 2nd level, your speed increases by 2 cells while you're not wearing armor or wielding a shield. This bonus becomes 3 cells at level 6, 4 cells at level 10. So you see where I'm going here. The Savannah Elf has around 7 cells of movement. So that means we are moving across the battlefield like nothing pretty much. And then literally with this bonus, we're going to be teleporting around the battlefield. Because as you can see, with 2 bonus cells where we're not wearing any armor or shield. And then here we got 3 cells, and at level 10 we got 4 cells, which is crazy. So all in all, we get around 11 movement tiles during combat, which is crazy. We're teleporting. We're literally teleporting. Let's finish. Up to level 3, so we get some more hit points, and now we get to determine the tradition you have chosen. So we got unlocked class features, deflect missiles. Starting at the 3rd level, you can use your reaction to deflect or catch the missile when you're hit by a ranged weapon attack. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced by 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your monk level. So this will mitigate quite a lot of ranged damage attacks on your monk. If you reduce the damage to 0, you can catch the missile if it is small enough for you to hold in 1 hand and you have at least 1 hand free. If you catch a missile in this way, you can spend 1 key point to make a ranged attack with the weapon or piece of ammunition you just caught as part of the same reaction. You make this attack with proficiency, regardless of your weapon proficiencies, and the missile counts as a monk weapon for the attack, which has a normal range of 4 cells and a long range of 12 cells. So this just means if someone's hailing arrows at us or anything like that, or bullets, you know, whatever have you, we can literally catch it and throw it back at them and do a lot of damage with that. So this is kind of like an added thing to the monk. So they got their main attacks. They also got this as well, their reaction, depending if you can reduce the damage to 0 or not. That means you can literally chuck it back at them and do some added damage from long range, which is very nice. Let's go next. So moving on to the traditions or the specializations, so I say, we got Way of Freedom up first. Flurry of Blows, improve 1. Starting at the 3rd level, whenever you use Flurry of Blows, you gain advantage on your next attack, and you gain the benefit of the dash action until the end of your turn. So this means that every time you do a bonus action with a Flurry of Blows, you will have advantage on that attack, which means you're more likely to hit it, and you also get to dash. The dashing isn't that great though, because you can literally zip around the battlefield. As you can see from earlier, while I was looking at the other levels, you will have around 11 movement tiles anyway, so the dash doesn't really make that much difference in the grand scheme of things. So over to Way of Light. Luminous Key. Starting at the 3rd level, you learn the Light and Shine cantrips, Wisdom for spellcasting. Whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by your Flurry of Blows, they automatically start emitting bright light until the end of your next turn. So this is actually okay. It's not great, it's just okay. So if you have a cleric, a bard, or wizard, or sorcerer, or anyone like that that can actually give you light cantrip, which is probably one of the strongest cantrips in the game, this is okay to take. Also, the added bonus of being able to light things up that you hit with your Flurry of Blows works quite nicely against Sorex and vampires, but against everyone else it's a bit redundant. So as a specialization, it's a bit too niche for me. I don't really like it that much. Let's have a look at Way of Survival. Defensive Stance. Starting at the 3rd level, you gain a 2 bonus to AC while you're not wearing armor and are not incapacitated. When you use Patient Defense, you gain advantage to your attack rolls until the start of your next turn. So this one's actually really strong. The monk is actually struggling a fair amount with the AC because they can't literally get the stats they need to get the bonus AC that they want. So this helps out quite a lot in the armor class department, means you'll be taking a lot less damage and also gaining advantage to your attack rolls until you start your next turn. It's also icing on the cake, very strong specialization, or tradition should I say. Way of the Open Hand technique. Starting when you choose this tradition at the 3rd level, you can manipulate your enemy's ki when you harness your own. Whenever you hit a creature with one of the attacks granted by a Flurry of Blows, you can impose one of the following effects on that target. It must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or be knocked prone. It must make a strength saving throw. If it fails, you can push it up to 3 cells away from you. It can't take reactions until the end of your turn. Okay, so this seems fairly strong on paper, but creatures will normally have a fairly high dex and a fairly high strength, especially strength. Strength is probably one of the highest stats for most monsters that you face, so you're not going to be able to make much use of this at all. On top of that, I've never really used the push that much during campaigns. There is not that many things that you can push enemies off of from high up to down below, and it will actually do that much. So in other words, the strength part of it isn't that great. Dexterity, knocking them prone, is fairly good. Means all your melee attackers, they get advantage attacks on them if they're being knocked prone, so that means you're more likely to hit your attack. Not being able to take reactions until the end of your turn, that's a bit more niche once again. If you have, like, say for example, a sorcerer, a wizard, or bard that needs to get away from the enemy, you can use this to make sure they don't take an attack or opportunity on themselves. But otherwise, it's a bit too niche for me. I prefer the Way of Survival. I feel like the Way of Survival has the best kit out of all these monk specializations, so we're going to take that and finish. Up and away to level 4, so some more hit points. Ability score increase or bonus feat we now have access to. We also get access to Slow Fall. Starting at the 4th level, you can use your reaction when you fall to reduce any fall damage you take by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level. Additionally, you don't become prone when landing. So in other words, if you jump across a gap and you fall down horrendously, your strength is low and your athletics is low as well, this means you don't lose out on turn. It means you take less damage as well. It's like nice to have. It's not, you know, game breaking, but it's just a nice little bonus to have. Then over to here, our choice between ability score and bonus feat. Our dexterity is around 17, as you can see, so we need to find a bonus feat that has 1 dex baked into it. So let's take that and go next. The one I'm looking at here is the Forest Runner. So Forest Runner, oh, where has it gone? Forest Runner, you gain 2 cells movement speed and 1 dex. So this brings our dex up to 18, means we're hitting more, means we're doing more damage. And on top of that, we get some more movement cells in combat. So now at the max level, we are going to have around 13 movement cells to use as monk. As I said, the monk gets so much movement. It's literally incredible how much they can move around the battlefield. They fly, they teleport. It's just insane. So Forest Runner is what we're going to take and finish there. And now on to level 5. So level 5, we get some more hit points. We get some bonuses to attack, saving throws, skill and tool checks, and spell DC. We have unlocked another class feature, which is extra attack. You can attack one more time per combat turn when you use the attack or shove action. So this is kind of like a thing that most martial classes get at level 5. They get the extra attack, which really helps out their damage. We also get Stunning Strike. Starting at the 5th level, you can interfere with the flow of ki in opponent's body. When you hit another creature with a melee weapon attack, you can spend 1 key point to attempt a stunning strike. The target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of your next turn. Okay, so Stunning Strike's one of those things that's really amazing when it actually works, because you literally make them miss a whole turn. Unfortunately, Constitution is actually one of the highest saving throws of most creatures. It's normally Constitution and Strength is their highest. So it's actually kind of hard to get this off. On top of that, some of the bosses are immune to being stunned, because obviously it makes it a bit unfair if you can stun a boss completely for the whole turn. So that means they're not doing anything at all. So some creatures have immunity to stuns, so you need to watch out for that. And Constitution's a fairly high saving throw as well, so it's not going to go off as often as you would like it to. But this is very, very nice when it works. When it works, it's awesome CC, amazing. Let's finish. On to level 6. So more hit points, and we now get Ki Empowered Strikes. Starting at the 6th level, your unarmed strikes count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. There's a lot of enemies in the game, especially like vampires and things like that. They need magical weapons to actually harm them. If you don't have a magical weapon, you're not going to do any damage to them at all. It'll literally just say immune or 0 damage or resistance. So this is actually a great upgrade for the monk. Then we've got Unbreakable Body. Starting at 6th level, whenever you take damage from any source, you heal a number of hit points equal to your proficiency bonus at the start of your next turn. Whenever you use Patient Defense, you also gain resistance to all damage types until the start of your next turn. So being able to heal up every time you take damage and also getting damage resistance to damage types is really strong, especially if you want your monk to be slightly more tanky or want it to be your kind of main tank during the party. This actually helps out quite a lot. It's very similar to the Barbarian's Path of Stone, very similar kind of passive, but it makes it a lot more tanky, a lot stronger. Let's finish there. Up to level 7, more hit points, and we now have Evasion. At the 7th level, your instinctive agility lets you dodge out the way of certain area effects, such as a blue dragon's lightning breath or a fireball spell. When you are subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw to take only half damage, you instead take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw and only half damage if you fail. So in other words, if you succeed the saving throw, you're taking no damage from AoE at all, and if you fail, you're still only taking half damage. This is really, really essential once again to the monk's survivability. Very strong passive. Stillness of Mind. Starting at the 7th level, you become immune to being charmed or frightened. Icing on the cake, once again, if you can't be charmed or frightened, that means no mind control effects can pretty much affect you at all, which is really strong. Level 8, we get another ability score or bonus feat here. We're going to be taking the ability score because we need to raise our dex up to 20. It's 18 at the moment, so we need the proficiency bonuses, we need the more attack, we need the damage as well. So let's go next, and we're going to pump that straight into dex right now. So our AC is increased, our damage has increased, our chance to hit has increased as well. All really great stuff for the monk. Up to level 9, more hit points and more proficiency bonuses to attacks, saving throws, skill and tool checks, and also spell DC. We've also unlocked a new class feature, which is unarmored movement improved. Starting at the 9th level, climbing becomes second nature to you. Climbing no longer costs you extra movement. Really good in combat, actually. There's a lot of things that you want to climb to get to people, or like archers or casters that are highly elevated up. This allows you not to, use up all your movement tiles, even though you have so many movement tiles anyway. It kind of makes it slightly redundant, but at the same time, you can keep your movement tiles and also be able to climb up to things like Spider-Man. Really cool. Level 10, more hit points, and we also get Purity of Body. At the 10th level, your Master of the Ki flowing through you makes you immune to disease and poison. So I hate disease and poison in nearly every single game I play. Those status effects really ruin my day. So being immune to it and not having to worry about it at all, especially against spiders or zombies that can apply disease to you, is great. Level 11, more hit points, and we also unlock our moving strength. Starting at the 11th level, you can now add your con modifier to the damage rolls of your unarmed strikes and monk weapons. So this is also nice because it gives us extra damage. Our con is around 14, so that little bit damage does count for a tiny bit, which is nice for the monk. Our last level, level 12. more hit points. Who would have thought? And we also get a choice between ability score increase or a bonus feat. Because our dexterity, which is our main stat, even though monk wants all the stats, is up to 20 now, and that's the max you can go, we're now going to switch to a bonus feat and have a look through. So the one I would normally take on the monk would be cloak and dagger, which is this one here. Oh god, where am I going? Here it is. After you hit an enemy with a light weapon, you gain +2 AC until the start of your next turn. Doesn't stack. So this helps out quite a bit because it gives us that much needed AC that we need as the monk. We're kind of lacking on AC a bit because we can't raise our wisdom up as high as we want to with the point buy. So this extra 2 AC on every attack we do that doesn't stack is nice because we get to mitigate a lot more damage. It means we're taking less damage. It means we stay in the fight a lot longer and we get to do more damage as well. And let's finish that. As I said earlier, the monk is fairly straightforward to level up, very short and sweet. In Solasta, there isn't that many options to choose from to kind of change the personality or the playstyle of the monk in this game at all. This is probably the most optimal build you can make. So that about wraps up my monk class guide. If you've got any suggestions or any class guides you want me to do, please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.